Stop! He shouted, grabbing her wrist just as she clicked the trackpad. I just want to understand, she whispered, voice already trembling. But the screen lit up. A folder named April. Her birthday. She blinked. It was such a small thing, a folder. So normal. But her gut twisted as if her body had read ahead. He mumbled something behind her. Not now. Please, later tonight. I just need time. But she had already double-clicked. The folder opened. Rows of images. Thumbnails. All neatly arranged. Labeled by date. She felt her breath catch in her throat as her own face stared back at her from the screen, smiling, unaware, framed by the soft glow of their bedroom lamp. But then, another face. One that shouldn't be there. A figure half caught in the frame. Familiar. Too familiar. A hand on her back that she didn't remember. The timestamp, the same night she was sure she'd been home alone. Her chest tightened. Her eyes darted to the hallway mirror, she could see their reflection there now, like the past was bleeding into the present. Do you know who that is? She asked, barely managing to keep her voice steady. He looked out the window. I thought you already knew. She's like you. You always said that. Who? Her voice cracked. Who is she? But he didn't answer. Instead, he stepped away. Quiet. Almost, rehearsed. On the screen, she scrolled further. More images. But not all of her. Not all in their house. A few were in places she'd never been. One was in a dress she didn't own. Except, it was her. Or someone who looked exactly like her. Smiling in a way she hadn't smiled in years. Smiling at someone off frame. That was when her knees gave in, and she sat on the edge of the bed, laptop still glowing, heart pounding so loud it drowned out everything else. Something wasn't adding up. Or maybe it was adding up too quickly. He returned a moment later with a glass of water she didn't ask for. You don't remember that day, do you? He asked softly. What are you talking about? He paused. You always said April was blurry. It was. She had chalked it up to stress, to long workdays, to that fight they had right before the party. But now it felt more like missing time. On the screen, a video file was loading. File name, untitled. MOV. Don't play that, he said sharply. She didn't blink. Didn't speak. Just stared at him. And that's when he finally sat down beside her, not too close, not touching. I was going to delete everything, he murmured. But I couldn't. Not yet. Because if I did, then maybe none of it was ever real. Maybe I imagined it. What was real? She asked. He didn't answer. Just looked at the screen like it held something sacred and shameful. Somewhere in the hallway, her phone buzzed. One new message. From her sister. Can you call me when you're alone? It's important. It's about him. She didn't open it. Not yet. Because something in that folder was still loading, something her life may not survive seeing. She didn't move. The video was still buffering. The spinning wheel at the center of the screen pulsed like a second heartbeat. Her hand hovered over the trackpad, but her fingers refused to click. Beside her, he was too still. Not tense. Just, waiting. That was worse. What's in the video? She asked finally, barely a whisper. I don't know what version of it you'll see, he replied. That made no sense. None of this did. You're not making sense. I know. The message from her sister still glowed on her phone. She reached for it but stopped an inch short. Her hand shook. Not from fear, not exactly. From the sensation that her reality had shifted 3 degrees to the left and no one told her. You said she's like me, she said slowly. You meant, what? My sister? He hesitated. His mouth opened, then closed. Then, no. Just that. A single word that opened more doors than it closed. The video clicked into focus, just the thumbnail. No motion yet. No sound. A paused moment in time. It was her. She was sure of it. Same sweater, same earrings. But she didn't recognize the room. Or the way she was smiling. It was soft. Dreamlike. She looked lighter. She hadn't looked that way in years. I never showed you this, he said. Because I didn't think it would come back. She turned to him. What is coming back? He stood. Walked to the window again like it was a habit. Outside, a dog barked in the distance. Wind moved the trees like something unseen was approaching. Her reflection in the glass caught his, both of them slightly distorted. You asked me once if I'd ever lied to you, he said. She remembered. They were on vacation. Some cliffside cabin with bad reception and overpriced wine. She remembered asking, but she didn't remember his answer. And you said no, she said. No, he replied. I said, not yet. That part, she hadn't remembered. The screen flickered. The video auto-started, silently at first. She lunged forward and paused it. I'm not ready. He nodded, like he knew that would happen. Like he had replayed this scene in his head 100 times. I need to ask you something, she said, voice cracking. Then ask. Have you, ever, followed me? His face didn't change. But his hands gripped the edge of the windowsill a little tighter. I've gone looking, he said. But only after you disappeared. I've never disappeared. He looked at her now. Haven't you? Her heart dropped. That night in April, there had been a gap. She remembered falling asleep in their bed. But the next clear memory she had was already the morning after. She thought she'd dreamed. But what if she hadn't? Someone left me a note, he added suddenly. Her eyes widened. When? 2 weeks ago. On the back porch. It only said one thing. He reached into the drawer and pulled out a small torn piece of paper. It read. She still doesn't know. But soon. The handwriting looked familiar. Too familiar. She grabbed her phone again. Her sister's message still waited. She tapped it open. I've been trying to protect you. But I can't anymore. Something's happening and you need to know. But not over the phone. She stared at the words. Her pulse thudded in her ears. He turned back to her. You should talk to her. She's the last person I trust. Then she might be the only one who'll tell you the truth. Outside, something moved behind the trees. A flicker of motion. Too fast to catch. She blinked, and it was gone. Inside the folder, another file appeared. It hadn't been there before. The new file blinked on the screen. Just a name, backup. All caps. No extension. No date stamp. She hadn't clicked it. She was sure of that. Did you just? He shook his head before she could finish. I didn't touch anything. For a long moment, they both just stared at the folder like it might bite. Her skin prickled. The air felt suddenly heavier, like the room had taken a breath and wasn't letting it go. She clicked. Inside were more files. Dozens. All time-stamped for the same day, April 17th. Her birthday. Again. I didn't take those, he whispered. I swear to you. But someone had. There were documents. Screenshots. Snippets of conversations. One message thread was labeled with her name. But the other contact, the one she'd supposedly been writing to, was just saved as a single letter, or she didn't recognize the texts. Except, the phrasing felt like hers. Casual. Emotional. A little reckless. One of them read. Last night didn't feel like a mistake. Does that make me awful? She felt her stomach turn. I didn't write this, she said. He sat down again, slower this time, as if afraid the floor might collapse beneath them. I think that's what they want you to believe. That you don't know who you are. Her heart slammed. Who's they? Before he could answer, a sound interrupted them. Her laptop chimed, a familiar tone. A login alert. Your account was just accessed from a new location. She pulled the notification down. Location, unknown. Device, unknown. Her fingers flew to close the window, but the screen froze. Then, for a split second, the camera light blinked on. Just once. She slammed the lid shut. What the hell is this? She breathed. I told you. I was going to delete everything. But it's not just on the laptop anymore. What do you mean? He didn't answer. He just got up and opened their bedroom closet. From behind the coats, he pulled out a shoebox. Inside were receipts, printouts, old voice memos. She reached in and grabbed a page. It was a transcript of a call. Her voice. But she had no memory of saying those words. The page shook in her hands. How long have you been collecting this? I haven't, he said. Then who has? Another message buzzed on her phone. Not from her sister this time. From a blocked number. Stop looking. Please. It's not her fault. She froze. Is this a prank? Are you doing this to make me think I've lost my mind? If I was, why would I be this scared? And he was scared. Not frantic. Not performative. But something deep in his posture had cracked. She walked to the living room window. The curtains were already pulled back. And across the street, parked on the corner, a silver car. Not running. No lights. Just sitting there. Had it been there earlier? She couldn't remember. He stepped beside her, speaking so quietly she barely heard. I think this started before your birthday. I think this started the night you visited your sister. She didn't respond. Because now she was thinking of something else entirely. A memory that hadn't felt strange until this moment. The gift her sister gave her that day. A small, locked box. No key. No note. Just a whisper. Open it when you're ready. She never had. But now, she needed to find it. Because suddenly, she had the horrible feeling it was never meant to be opened at all. The shoebox in her hands felt heavier than it should. Not physically. But like it carried a weight she hadn't acknowledged until now. She remembered tossing it into the bottom drawer weeks ago, maybe months, and never thinking of it again. She carried it to the kitchen counter, slowly, carefully, like it might shatter. He stood behind her, silent. Why didn't you remind me about this? She asked. I thought you already knew. Knew what? That her sister had given her a gift with no explanation, no card, no occasion except her birthday, and that she had accepted it without question? That she had left it untouched in the dark, while everything else in her life was quietly unraveling? The box was small. Wood. Smooth. No markings. The keyhole was nearly invisible, part of the grain. There was no key, and her sister had never offered one. Just a look. The kind of look people give when they know you'll either open something too soon, or far too late. She traced her fingers across the lid. I don't want to open it, she whispered. You already know what's inside, he replied. But she didn't. She really didn't. And the idea that he might, that he somehow could, chilled her more than she could admit. She pressed her ear to the box. Silence. No ticking. No mechanical hum. But still, her body braced for something. Then, footsteps on the porch. 3 slow knocks. She jerked upright. He moved toward the door but she grabbed his arm. Don't, she said. They both stood still, breath held. Another knock. Softer this time. Almost polite. She peeked out the window, no one was there. Just the empty street. The silver car was gone. Then her phone buzzed again. This time, a photo. No sender. Just the image. It was the box, the same one now sitting in front of her, but the photo had been taken days ago. It was on her sister's table. Same scratches on the wood. Same faint fingerprint smudge on the lid. The timestamp said 2 weeks before her birthday. Before the party. Before the fight. Before the folder. She looked down at the real box. Suddenly, it felt cold. He leaned in. There's a reason she gave that to you. A reason she didn't say anything. And a reason you forgot it was even there. The lights flickered. Just once. She turned to him sharply. Is this all some elaborate manipulation? Are you trying to make me doubt everything? If I wanted to lie, he said slowly, I wouldn't need the truth to be this confusing. She didn't know what that meant. She opened the kitchen drawer and grabbed the letter opener. No, he said quickly. Don't force it. That's not how it works. How what works? He hesitated. It has to be your choice. Willingly. The power blinked again. And for a split second, the digital clock on the oven glitched. Flashing, not the time, but 3 letters. APR. She stepped back. You saw that too? She asked. He nodded. It's not just on the laptop anymore. Something about the way he said it made her heart twist. Then a faint noise from upstairs. A creak. As if someone was walking the hallway, barefoot. She looked at him. He looked at her. Are we alone? She asked. I thought so. She turned toward the stairs, every hair on her body standing. From above, a voice called softly. Hers. Calling his name. The voice was soft. Unmistakably hers. But wrong. Like it had been recorded, then played back through something that didn't quite understand tone. She froze mid-step. He did too. Did you hear that? She whispered. He nodded, slowly. You're downstairs. She glanced at the laptop, still shut. The box, unopened. Her phone, buzzing again. But she couldn't look away from the stairs. Something about that voice had shifted the air in the house, made the walls feel tighter. Then it came again. His name. Her voice. Again from above. He moved first. I'm going up. No, she said, grabbing his arm. What if? But the rest of the sentence dissolved. Because she remembered something. A flash of memory. A stairwell. Not this one. Dim lighting. And her own voice saying something she couldn't now recall, only the feeling of regret. A deep, permanent kind. She let go of his arm. They crept up together, every step creaking just slightly under their weight. When they reached the top, the hallway was empty. Still. But the door to the guest room was open. It was never open. They both paused at the threshold. Inside, perfectly made bed. Pillows fluffed. A glass of water on the nightstand, half full. As if someone had just been there. As if someone might return. She stepped in slowly. Her breath visible now, somehow. It wasn't cold, but her lungs said otherwise. On the pillow, something rested. A pendant. One she hadn't seen in years. She picked it up. It was warm. I gave this to my sister when we were 17, she whispered. She said she lost it. He didn't answer. She turned the pendant over, a tiny inscription on the back. She needed light to read it. She walked to the window and held it up. But what she saw wasn't letters. It was numbers. A date. 04/17. 08. Her 16th birthday. She had no memory of giving it away then. Only that her sister had taken it, eventually. But the date felt wrong. Like it belonged to something else entirely. Then, her phone buzzed. A voicemail. She didn't recognize the number. But the transcription preview said one thing. Why did you lie about that night? Her blood ran cold. He looked at her. What night? I don't know. She hit play. Silence at first. Then, music. Low. Muffled. Like it was playing through walls. Then a voice. Her own. Laughing. And in the background, a second voice. Familiar. Her sister. Saying a single sentence. She still doesn't know who she is, does she? She dropped the phone. It hit the carpet without a sound. Outside, the sky was shifting. Not dark yet, but not right either. The kind of dim that shouldn't exist at this hour. He backed away from the window. "We need to go," he said. "Where?" "Somewhere without mirrors." "What?" But he was already walking downstairs. And when she turned to follow him, her reflection in the glass window didn't move. She didn't scream. Not when her reflection stayed still. Not even when it blinked. She just stepped back, one careful step, until the window no longer held her gaze like a trap. Downstairs, she heard him opening drawers, cabinets, the front door locking twice, then once more. He was preparing for something. Maybe escape. Maybe confrontation. But she was still in that room with the pendant, the voicemail, and the mirror that didn't follow rules. Her hands trembled. She forced herself to look back. The glass was blank. Empty now. Only her. Just her. But her eyes were red-rimmed, and something behind them was off. She joined him downstairs. "You said we need to go." "Where?" "I don't know yet," he said, stuffing things into a small bag. "Somewhere disconnected. Somewhere they can't track you." "They?" He didn't elaborate. Just tossed in a flashlight, charger, and a photograph, folded in half, so she couldn't see it. "What is that?" He hesitated. "It's the last time I saw you before April." "That's impossible. We live together." He stopped moving. And that silence said more than any answer could. "Let me see it," she demanded. He slowly handed her the photo. She unfolded it. Her. Standing in a hallway. Not their home. Wearing a coat she didn't recognize. Looking directly into the camera. But the part that chilled her was that she was holding hands with someone. Someone just out of frame. Someone wearing the same sweater he had on now. "You took this?" she asked. He looked away. "I don't remember." The lights flickered again. This time, they didn't come back on. She reached for her phone, flashlight on, and stepped toward the living room. But something stopped her. A hum. Low. Mechanical. Coming from inside the walls. Like wires vibrating. A frequency just below hearing but deep enough to feel. Then, another message. Her phone lit up. Unknown sender. "Stop looking. It isn't your memory to recover." Her chest tightened. "Who keeps sending these?" she whispered. But before he could answer, knock knock knock. 3 times. Back door. They both froze. It was 2 p.m. Broad daylight. But the house felt sealed in shadow. She moved toward the door, phone still shaking in her hand. She peeked through the peephole. No one. But there was something on the mat. A single envelope. She opened the door slowly, wind brushing her face like cold breath. Picked up the envelope. No name. Just a wax seal she didn't recognize, a spiral burned into the surface. Inside, a photo. This time, it was her sister. Standing in front of their childhood home. Smiling. But the windows behind her were blacked out. All of them. Covered completely. And scrawled across the bottom in pen. It started here. It never stopped. Behind her, he spoke, low and fast. "We shouldn't have opened that folder." "Why?" "Because it wasn't made for you." She turned to him. "Then who was it made for?" He opened his mouth to answer. But then they both heard it. From upstairs. The unmistakable sound of the pendant box sliding open, all on its own. The sound was unmistakable. The soft click of the wooden lid sliding free. The box had opened itself. Neither of them moved for several seconds. As if the house was holding its breath, waiting to see who would dare step first. He was the one who spoke. "Stay here." "No," she said, almost instantly. "Not anymore." Together, they climbed the stairs. The hallway looked the same, but something had shifted. The air felt denser, like memory itself was clinging to the walls. The guest room door was half closed now. She pushed it open. The box was on the bed. Open. The pendant still beside it, but something else now rested inside. Folded paper. A slip, aged at the edges. And beneath it, the unmistakable shape of a key. She picked up the paper first. Unfolded it carefully. Just 2 lines. Written in the same handwriting from the envelope. You were never supposed to remember. But if you're reading this, it's already too late. She felt the floor beneath her go soft, as if her knees might give way. She lifted the key. Old-fashioned. Brass. The kind used in houses that hadn't been lived in for decades. Do you recognize it? He asked behind her. She nodded slowly. I think so. But only in dreams. They sat on the edge of the bed, and for the first time, neither spoke. The silence wasn't comforting. It was dense. Charged. Like the key in her hand was a battery hooked to her veins. Then he said something she hadn't expected. There's a file. One I didn't show you. She turned to him, heart lurching. Why? Because it's labeled with your name. But not just your name. It says. Version 3. Her stomach dropped. What does that mean? I don't know. But I think someone's been rewriting things. She shook her head. You're not making sense. I'm trying not to. What? If I say too much, you might start remembering faster. She stood abruptly. And what's wrong with that? He looked at her like he pitied her. You tell me. The laptop was still on the table downstairs. The screen was black now, but the glow of standby still pulsed. Waiting. Watching. She approached it, key in hand. I'm opening that file, she said. No, you're not. She paused. Try and stop me. But he didn't move. Didn't even flinch. She sat down and opened the lid. The desktop was different now. Rearranged. A new folder. No label. Just a symbol, the spiral from the wax seal. Inside, one video file. She hovered the cursor over it. A frame preview appeared. Her face. Crying. In a place she didn't recognize. The timestamp? April 17th, 2:47 a.m. The exact minute she'd woken up that night, drenched in sweat, convinced something had ended. Her hand shook on the mouse. He stepped closer. Don't. I have to. She clicked play. A loading bar. Buffering. Then, black screen. A few seconds of static. Then a voice. Hers. Screaming. Not from pain. Not from fear. But something worse. Then silence. And on the screen, a door. Slowly opening. As if someone, or something, was inviting her back inside a memory she never made. She paused the video. Her heart pounded. This is a trap, she whispered. He nodded. But whose? The video paused on the image of the door. Old. Wooden. Weather-worn. No markings. No knob. But the way it stood half-open felt wrong. Like it hadn't been opened by someone, but by something waiting on the other side. She stared at the frame. Do you recognize that door? He asked. She didn't answer. Because she did. Not from their house. Not from her childhood home. But somewhere deeper, a hallway from a dream she used to have every April, always waking with a taste of metal in her mouth and the sound of knocking in her ears. She unpaused the video. The camera moved forward, unsteady, as if held by a shaking hand. No voice. No footsteps. Just the slow creak of the floor beneath. Then, a whisper. Not hers. A man's voice. Familiar. Saying one sentence. She won't know she's not the first. She stopped the video again. What does that mean? She asked, voice cracking. He didn't answer. Just looked down at the floor. Tell me. He sat down slowly, resting his head in his hands. Before you, there was someone else. Someone who lived the same day. Over and over. She took a step back. Are you saying I don't know what I'm saying. Liar. But he looked up at her, and for the first time, truly, he looked broken. I didn't want to believe it either, he said. Until I found the journals. What journals? He reached for the backpack he'd brought from the closet. Pulled out a spiral notebook, battered, stained. Pages full of handwriting. She flipped it open. They were her words. Her style. Her phrasing. But the dates were wrong. Entire months she didn't remember writing through. Descriptions of places she'd never been. Of conversations she didn't recall. One entry caught her eye. April 17 to 3:05 a.m. The door won't stay closed. Every time I lock it, it comes back wider. I told her not to let her through. But I think it's already too late. I think she saw the box. She looked up. Who's are? I thought it was me, he said. I thought it meant Ryan. That's not your name. I know. A beat of silence. You said before you don't remember taking that photo of me. Or the cabin. Or the pendant. What do you remember? He hesitated. Less and less. She looked back at the video. The door had started moving again. Slowly opening. No one on screen now. Just the door, and a flickering light beyond it. Then, for just a split second, something stepped into view. A silhouette. Same build as her. Same hair. But not her. Not, quite. She paused again. Her voice was a whisper. Is that me? I don't think so. Then who? Knock knock knock. 3 times. But not at the front. Not at the back. From inside the house. Behind the guest room door. The one that had been empty. The one with the box. They turned at the same time. He whispered, "This didn't happen last time." She looked at him, stunned. What do you mean last time? He took a shaky breath. I think we've done this before. I think we've done this before. The words dropped between them like a stone into still water. Ripples of something neither could name spread out in all directions. She stared at him, her mouth open but silent. Her thoughts were too loud. What do you mean this? She finally whispered. The video? The folder? The box? He shook his head. All of it. There was a knock again. Softer now. As if the thing behind the door wasn't trying to scare them, just remind them it was still there. She turned slowly. The hallway was empty, the guest room door cracked half an inch wider. I need to see, she said. No. You just said we've done this before. And every time, you say that. She froze. Every time? He nodded. Something inside her buckled. How many times? I don't know. I stop remembering after 3. Her pulse thundered. I need to know what's behind that door, she said. You don't, he replied. You need to remember why you locked it in the first place. She took a step forward. Wait, he said suddenly. Your phone. She glanced down. Another message. This time, from her sister. If you're reading this again, don't go upstairs. Her breath caught. Again. Her thumb hovered over the reply button. But before she could type, a new message came in. From a number saved in her contacts, her own. It read. You forgot too much this time. If you open the door, it won't reset. Her knees buckled slightly. What does it mean? She whispered. Reset what? He stepped toward her, carefully. Sometimes the mind does what the heart can't. It hides things from itself. No. No more riddles. No more half-answers. She turned to face the door, now open just enough to see darkness beyond it. One footstep. Then another. Do you remember what you found in there last time? He asked. No, she said. But I'm about to. She stepped inside. The room was cold. Too cold for a summer afternoon. The pendant was gone. The box was gone. The only thing in the room now was a mirror. Standing. Tall. Facing the wall. She reached toward it, heart hammering. He grabbed her arm. Don't turn it. But she already was. Slowly, the mirror revealed its surface. And she saw herself. Only, not quite. The reflection blinked first. Then tilted its head. But she hadn't moved. Her breath caught in her throat. From behind the glass, her own voice echoed softly. You asked for the truth. But it doesn't belong to you anymore. She stumbled back. He caught her. I told you, he whispered. This isn't the first version of you who tried. What happened to the others? He looked at her. And didn't say a word. Because somewhere, deep inside, she already knew. And now, the final file on the laptop was glowing. Not just highlighted, pulsing. The title had changed. Now it read. Last attempt. She stood in front of the screen. The file pulsed. Last attempt. Not a title, a warning. He was behind her, silent. He looked tired in a way that sleep couldn't fix. Like someone who had already buried too many truths. She didn't ask permission this time. She clicked. The screen went black. No buffering. No intro. Just darkness. And a voice. Her voice. Speaking softly. Calmly. Not afraid. If you're watching this, it means I failed again. And if I'm you, and I think I am, you won't believe any of this until it's already too late. She leaned in. Her own face slowly came into frame. But not quite her. Eyes too tired. Mouth too certain. You think it's about betrayal. Or him. Or her. Or something someone did. But it never was. That was just the surface. The box, the photos, the voice messages. We left those for ourselves. Like breadcrumbs. But we keep circling back. Tears welled in her eyes. She wasn't sure why. You wanted to know who she is. The girl in the mirror. The one who walks your dreams. The one you keep seeing in places you've never been. On the screen, her other self smiled. Sadly. She's not a stranger. She's what you left behind. She turned to him. But he wouldn't meet her gaze. Ryan, she whispered. If that's even your name. He finally looked at her. I told you before, he said. I only remember 3 times. But I always remember this part. What part? His voice cracked. When you leave. She shook her head. I'm not going anywhere. You already have, he said. You just haven't realized it yet. On the screen, her other self reached out, toward the camera. And in the mirror beside them, something moved. A second hand. From inside the reflection. Pressed gently against the glass. She turned slowly. Her reflection stood still. But its eyes were alive. And they were begging. Not to be let out. To be remembered. The glass shimmered. Cracks began to spread from the center, delicate veins of light and memory. Then. A single sound. Click. The pendant. On the floor. The box, now closed again. And the mirror? Empty. Just her. Only her. She turned. The screen was dark. The file gone. The folder, deleted. Everything, reset. Except for one thing. Her phone buzzed. One new message. From an unknown number. You're getting closer. Don't stop now. She exhaled. And smiled. Because she finally understood. This wasn't the end. It was only the first chapter she chose to remember.